Red Prison in Modern. The bans are official. The bans are in. Oko and Mycosynth along with Mox Opal, are gone from the meta. Because of this, we're able to now utilize the lock pieces that Red uses in order to lock our opponents out, those being Ensnaring Bridge and Chalice of the Void. With that, let's see where we're positioned in the meta. Let's see how we're doing. And we'll go ahead and play our list out. We'll jump right into the matches. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. We'll see you there. They're replays, by the way, so we're going to be doing commentary over top. Hopefully you enjoy this. Went ahead and did this a little bit off stream practicing. So here you go. Exclusive look into the league and how it went. You'll see the replays right up after this. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of these games here. Just reviewing them at this point because they've been already previously played. But I've tried this a couple times now. I think recording live is more my thing. But I believe I can hit this middle button, we can kind of play, and then that way it doesn't speed through. And we'll talk about some of the stuff that we see here as we rewatch these. Alright, so we go ahead and take a few mulligans, it looks like. Let's go ahead and get my, there we go. Alright. So this should go through each action here. Our opponent doesn't really give us any information, although we're not going to give them too much either, just by simply playing our own Ramunant Ruins. Opponent's going to go ahead and fetch. And get a Blood Crypt. Again, we don't have too much knowledge here. But at this point here, they play a Copperline Gorge, and we're pretty locked in at this point of what we know they're probably on. Some sort of dredge, probably variant, if you will. And so they have a Cathartic Reunion, they're discarding a Stinkweed Imp, and this gets to dredge a couple times. One thing we've noticed here that we have an Ox of Agonas immediately. And so that's kind of interesting. They hit a Prized Amalgam as well and a Life from the Loam, so they can continue to either do with the Dark Blast or the Life from the Loam. I believe they take the Life from the Loam here and end up hitting a Narcomoeba. This Prized Amalgam gets to come back here, and the Narcomoeba's in play. So on our turn, we draw a Slag Storm here. Pretty good, and based on what we see here, we do see the Conflag. We're seeing this Ox we haven't really interacted with. I take the line of just going ahead and Slag Storming here off of our Ritual. That way we clear the board and we can actually start playing our creatures down. Opponent gets a Bloodghast back here. There we go. So we had to click through a few times. So the Ox was being escaped, and they have to exile 8 options, and because Moto doesn't show us, we didn't have any idea that they were doing this. They leave Prized Amalgam here. This, again, is the first time we've ever really seen this card. A few triggers here, and actually, because they get to discard and then they get to draw 3 cards, they end up getting to do some more dredging here, hitting Narcomoeba, double Creeping Chill here. Not an ideal state for us to be in, especially with just a Rabblemaster and Legion Warboss. And we do have the option to play Bridge here and just maybe hope. But we already see that they have a Conflag here. They have a Life from the Loam. They have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 damage. So they just have to do 3 here. I believe at this point we would concede, and we do go ahead and do that. So since these are in the replays, we won't get to see the sideboard. But generally speaking, I believe for the sideboard here, we would be putting in, say, a Grafdigger's Cage. We'll probably leave Tormod's Crypt at home just because Tormod's Crypt can be utilized from Karn. Let's see here. I could see myself bringing in the Torp Orb as well and some of these Angers, and that'll probably be what we do in game number 2. So let's go ahead and hop over to game number 2. Alright, so game number 2 here, we get a starting hand, and the hand is just absolutely excellent. We have the Torp Orb, just in case they have an ETB creature pretty quickly, Narcomoeba into Prized Amalgam, and we have the Grafdigger's Cage. We'll go ahead and hit play here. We go ahead and we actually did mulligan down to get this hand. We play our Grafdigger's Cage, and our opponent just concedes. So let's go ahead and jump into number 3 here. Pretty quick, I remember this one, so let's move on. Alright. All right, so game number 3 here. We have an interesting hand. I can't remember if I keep this one. We'll go ahead and see. I don't. I think the reason I didn't keep that is I'm not in any lock pieces or removal pieces. For example, Grafdigger's Cage, Anger. We have this hand, which is just all mana. So we'll move on from that. And then we have this hand, which is all right. We know that the Blood Moon might be able to get us there. We can pitch 2 Karns here and leave in the Anger, and that way we can actually cast the Anger against some of their creatures. So we go ahead and keep this hand. We take out 2 of our Karns. We actually go ahead and play the Gemstone Cavern in here, and I want to say I get rid of the Anger. I might get rid of a land, though. Okay. So we get rid of the Anger with the idea that if I can get something, or take them off of possibly playing something, I have a good shot here. Opponent leads with a Shriekhorn. We happen to hit our Pyretic Ritual here. The Pyretic Ritual lets me ritual out Blood Moon here on turn 2. This will stop a lot of things. For example, Life from the Loam, any Stinkweed Imps, stuff like that. Opponent goes in and uses Shriekhorn, whiffs Blood Crypt, Thoughtseize, Blast Zone, Mountain. So my opponent has nothing here. Plays a City of Brass and passes back. At this point, we're good to go. We have one more Shriekhorn activation that I need to get through, and if I can at least get through that, then we'll be in great shape here. So here we go. Shriekhorn activation, no dredge. And they do miss their dredge pieces. So at this point, because they didn't have a play last time, we're in great shape. Top of Chandra, not able to play it currently. My opponent, being dredged, just has to naturally draw here. Hitting nothing. We hit a land and get to play our Chandra, which is excellent. Gives us the clock we need. One thing to note here is as we're playing this Chandra, we do see that they're at 7 cards. So whatever they draw here, they could theoretically pitch a card and start their dredging engine. We skip over an Anger, not a big deal. Opponent has no board state. So my opponent has a Haggle. This is pretty good because it can get their engine going here, whatever it might be that they have in hand. They ditch a Stinkweed Imp, and then they get to go ahead and do the dredging. Hitting Creeping Chill and Narcomoeba, noting that they don't really hit anything else here. 2 Cathartic Reunions, and we're not in danger of, say, a bunch of creatures coming in here, so probably the best dredge we could have hit. They also didn't hit any other dredgers, so they have a random Stinkweed Imp in hand, but that's about it. Hit a land drop. We're just going to go up with Chandra, skip over the Desperate Ritual. And I don't recall if we play this land or not. Probably just trying to conceal some information. So Narcomoeba comes in here. It comes at Chandra. Fair enough. And they go to their cleanup step. This is where they're going to pitch Stinkweed Imp, some dredger. So the Stinkweed Imp is back in the graveyard. Get a Chalice. Chalice is interesting. We go ahead and go up here. Desperate Ritual we skip over. We're probably going to put this Chalice on 2. A lot of their Cathartic Reunions, Life from the Loams, and other things like that are on 2. And so this is fine. It's not the best. Acclaim would take care of this, but we're also pretty okay from Acclaim just because my opponent doesn't have any green mana. Forgotten Cave cycled, hitting Creeping Chill and a Blood Gas, but otherwise they're just missing on their dredge pieces. We're getting, I'll say, remarkably lucky here. We go at Chandra one more time here, and they go to discard again, discarding Stinkweed Imp. We have a Desperate Ritual here. We skip over a land with Chandra. We'll pass back. They go Stinkweed. At this point, we do see that they have an Ox. Ox is a little bit worrisome, because they can go ahead and use this. They have the 2 red. I'll go ahead and click a few times while they get that Ox going. Replays with the Ox is going to be fun. So they get Ox. They get to discard their hand. So this is actually really dangerous for us. Discarding all kinds of things. Abrupt Decay that they can't cast. Some Narcomoedas, Life from the Loam, Blood Gas, Skolari Thug. Stinkweed I think was already there. Narcomoeba, they're dredging, and they're just going to hit a million things here. A lot of prized amalgams off of the dredges. Just going to let all those triggers resolve here. And they'll probably just ping Chandra for 1. They go for my face. This isn't a bad idea. Blood gas will now be on the haste because I'll be at 10. So we need to hit something rather potent here, just to say the least. Our opponent has quite the board here, and we're dead on board. We're looking for an anger. We're looking for Karn would do it, so I can go get a bridge, or naturally drawing a bridge. So we grab the bridge here. We use the Desperate Ritual just to empty the hand. The Desperate Ritual emptying the hand is maybe a question mark. We hit this Grafdigger's Cage off of Chandra. Now, at this point, we have to be playing the bridge, unfortunately. And if I would have held that Desperate Ritual, we get a bridge or cage as well. So we actually have to skip this cage. Maybe a small misplay there. Get a bridge down, pass the turn back. Chandra's at 7, opponent's at 17. Looking all right. Getting a braid, we go up here, finding another chalice. We'll fire off our own braid here. We're doing this so that Narc Amoebas can't attack under the bridge at Chandra. We want to be able to emblem Chandra here. Kind of close this game out. That's going to be the fastest. We don't need them to accidentally conflag us or something like that for a ton of damage. One thing to note that we didn't say before, but they have an Ancient Grudge here as well. So it's good to see the Ancient Grudge is protected by the Chalice of the Void. Draw land, that's fine. We'll go ahead and emblem here. I believe at this point we got it. Opponent does concede this match, and we get it. A little 2-1 here against Dredge. Probably very lucky. I think we, without the bridge, we definitely would have lost that one. Seeing this Ox, kind of an interesting one to see. We'll see how often this shows up. If they're taking something out that would hurt us more for the Ox, I'm okay. It might make bridge better, but we'll have to see how Dredge flushes out here with some of the new cards. There you go. Match number 1 in the books. A little replay system. Let's see how this works. We'll see how this works. All right. Not going to hit play on the next one. We're going to go straight into it. We'll see you in match number 2 here on the replays of our league. All right, match number 2. Again, just checking out the replays and playing through, seeing maybe if we've made any mistakes or not, getting to be a better Magic player. This opening hand looks fine. It's a little bit top end heavy, but we do have a removal piece and we do have an Eidolon. Those can be both pretty good. I imagine I would keep this. It looks like I do. We'll lead with a mountain, pass turn. We'll see what our opponent's up to. Sacred Foundry, that's probably burn. Burn it is. So we have a Goblin Guide here. We'll see if that can help us find our lands. It does. So we have a few decisions here. We can go ahead and lead with an Eidolon, or we can abrade. I think at this point, because we have a fairly high top end, I'm okay with passing the turn here and letting them attack in. Get our trigger here, and then get the abrade. We reveal a Rabble Master, which, it's okay. It's okay. Our opponent could have things like Searing Blaze, Lightning Bolts, all kinds of things to take care of Rabble Master. They suspend a Rift Bolt, I believe, yes. They suspend a Rift Bolt here at their ends, or their second main. We draw that Rabble Master, and I believe the better play here is to actually just play the Eidolon. The Rift Bolt's coming off, uses the mana efficiently. They take 2, and then the 3 damage doesn't come to face. I'm pretty cool with that, especially since my opponent's missed a land drop. The Rift Bolt comes off, targets Eidolon, takes 2. An extra Goblin Guide here. Hit our land drop. And opponent misses their land drop again. So at this point we can just like Karn, we can Chandra, we can Rabble Master. We're not in fear of Searing Blaze. They're not helixing us. I could imagine Chandra down tick here is completely fine. Play Karn. I think this line here, so the idea is we're going to go get Liquid Metal Coating, I would imagine. Liquid Metal Coating, and we're going to threaten to take them off their Singleton land here. Their play, if they miss a land drop, has to be Goblin Guide and then bolting the Karn here, because the Karn will be sitting at, you'll see it'll sit at 3 here. And from there, if they don't kill this, then we're going to take their lands. So we go grab a liquid metal coating. So we're forcing our opponent's damage to be diverted to Karn to keep their lands intact here. And it does look like... Oh, nope, they go for us. Hitting us for damage. And they get to skewer... they skewer off our Karn. So we do get them to divert some of their attention over. Seems pretty good for us. So here we top deck a Blood Moon. I'll probably run that out again. I'm a little bit afraid in Burn to run into Searing Blaze or other cards like that. And I don't want necessarily our Rabble Master to take that and us take damage, and then they just get in with a Goblin Guide. So I'm imagining I'm probably going to play Blood Moon here. We play our Chandra, that seems fine. Floating mana. Based on this line, we'll probably just go ahead and slam damage as well. So I think either line's fine here. I think at this point I decided my opponent's missed land drops a few times. Let's go ahead and get in for some damage. They do hit their land drop. They hit a Swift Spear. So that was their draw from last turn. You can figure this out because they've been playing creatures out for the most part. And then when we had Karn, they wanted to skewer. And I think that Monastery Swift Spear probably was their draw. So these are coming at us. I don't really want to keep Rabble Masters around at this point, and I can go ahead and trade off. I can then use Chandra to down tick here, or I can keep going up with Chandra. Opponent skewers us. We're at 10, which is pretty good at turn 6. Top deck and a Barade. This makes this turn super easy. Uptick with Chandra. Skip that. We're going to go ahead and Barade the Swift Spear and play Blood Moon to take them off Helix and Boros Charm. I think even at this point I would go ahead and swing in with my Singleton Goblin. So opponent's at 12, we're at 10. Looking pretty good. They go ahead and Searing Blaze our token. We take a point of damage, not 3. And if they're doing that, I'm feeling pretty confident here. Go up with Chandra, pass turn. And naturally, I think I would just go ahead and emblem this if they're not able to target the Chandra. They do Lightning Bolt Chandra. Again, just damage going to Chandra, not to us. Find a War Boss. That's plenty. Let's go ahead and play that in. And that'll be it for game number 1 against our Burn opponent. Once you get to a certain point where your life totals are about the same and our opponent's running out of cards, you've also shut off white, you can start definitely putting in the damage, especially in game 1. So we'll see what we do in game 2. This one, though, was pretty clear-cut. My opponent missed a land drop or 2. Seems like our opponents were doing that a few times here in this league. Let's go to match 2 and see how we do. All right. Match 2. We have quite the stellar hand here against our opponent. Blood Moon shuts off the Helix and Boros Charms. We have a Chalice that we can easily put on 1 very quickly. That'll stop a lot of things. Swift Spear, Goblin Guide, Lightning Bolt, etc., etc. And actually having the second Chalice will prevent us from probably getting a Smash to Smithereens here by getting that to 2, hopefully quickly enough. The ideal thing here would be to have some of these Angers that I've probably brought in. I've probably, let's see here, taken out some of the bridges because you take out bridges because their creatures will get underneath the bridge as well. So I can't imagine I mull this. I'm sure I keep this. Inspiring Vantage from our opponent. We get a land. I don't rush the Chalice out here because there was no 1-drop. There was no 1-drop. So let's just go ahead and see what goes on here. I can also use Simian Spirit Guide plus this 3rd land that I did have. And I could just slam a Chalice on 2 right after the Chalice on 1. I imagine a Chalice on 1 here. Yep, cool. I'm expecting a Smash to Smithereens or something of that. My opponent does tap out, but luckily it was just a Boros Charm. We take 4 going to 16. Again, I'm expecting a Smash to Smithereens at any point. We have our land drop. I'm just going to go ahead and Ritual out and go ahead and get this Chalice down on 2. This is the best window for it. I'm expecting, again, that Smash, and then we'll have at least a Chalice on 2 and not the 1. My opponent didn't play anything on 1, so this is feeling good. Opponent floats some mana here, helixes us, our Chalice lands, and a simple concede. There's no reason to rush the Blood Moon out here. You're trying to see if they do have the Smash to Smithereens. And since we had the Ritual and they had no 1-drop, it was pretty clear cut. You just play Chalice on 1. And if you see a Smash, for example, at the end step, you might just slam another Chalice on 1 and then play the Blood Moon. The Blood Moon would shut off Boros Charms and Helixes, so that's 8 cards you're hitting there. It's also hitting some of the creatures that have protection from red that they may bring in as well. So, pretty clean cut. A little bit lucky there again, but sometimes Magic, you gotta get lucky. There you go. Doing well in the league so far. Let's go to match number 3 here, coming up right after this. All right, match number 3 here. We look to be on the play from what I can tell based on the turn 1 in our name. We have a turn 2 Blood Moon. That seems excellent. We also have a Sweeper. Fantastic. I don't see any reason to go ahead and ship this. We'll hope they're not a monocolor deck. All right, we go ahead and lead with Gemstone Caverns. Not to give any information, it could be Eldrazi. Sometimes Eldrazi plays that. We have a Steam Vents from our opponent and Serum Visions. So at this point, it could be Blue Moon, it could be Storm, could be a Jeskai flavor, although they're kind of leaning off of the Serum Visions lately. Alright, so land here, I imagine I'll go ahead and ritual out this Blood Moon anyway, just to shut them off of blue. Hope they don't have the island. Slagstorm's looking a little weaker. A nice island from our opponent. Good top tech for us. I can't imagine I don't just slam this. Maybe we'll see a bolt from our opponent. And okay, so they stomp us with Bone Crusher Giant. Not exactly what I expected. So now we're looking at an Inventory kind of deck. I'm a little confused. Seeing the Adventure though, I'm thinking Brazen Borrow, Bone Crusher Giant, Blue Moon variant from our opponent. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and attempt to slam Karn here. Remand. Alright, so we're looking at what appears to be some sort of tempo deck. Tempo decks tend to run Remand. They're usually in the blue colors. Blue and red is pretty popular. Bolts, Delvers, Petty Theft, Brazen Borrowers, Bone Crusher Giant, Stomps, Remands, maybe high-end Keranos or other Planeswalkers. This is what we've kind of put them on at this point. See a Polluted Delta, so they could be Grixis, and a Young Pyromancer is a good indicator of potentially maybe Thoughtseizes in our future, or other nasty things. So it looks like I'm going to go ahead and play a Chalice on 2. The main reason for doing this is I've seen Stomp, I'm thinking Brazen Borrow at this point, I've seen Young Pyromancer, and I have a Remand. Serum Visions and Ops and Bolts I don't really care about at this point in the game. Maybe even an Is It Charm would be a problem. Opponent decides to stomp us and gets to get an Elemental token. Very interesting kind of build we have across from us. Hits us for a nice 3. We're feeling pretty safe though. I can Karn go get a bridge, or I could go get, well, I can Slagstorm as an alternate option. There's an Opt, again, kind of sticking with the tempo, Serum Vision. Okay. Opponent gets to do those things, plays their land. They're looking pretty good here. Bone Crusher Giant. So easy play here. We're just going to Slagstorm and leave them with 1 Bone Crusher Giant to cast. That would be my guess here, is what I do. And I do that. I did tap just a little more. Looking good. So Chalice is on 2. We have an upcoming Karn. They are aware of this Karn. Opponent's kind of restricted a little bit on their mana. There's the Delver, kind of interesting to see. Plays Bone Crusher Giant, and they've completely tapped out of blue. Hey, there's a bridge. I'll take a bridge. I could see me playing bridge here. I could also see just Karn. Karn would die, so I'm imagining it's bridge first, especially seeing that the blue mana is all tapped out. Alright. Blue, Lightning Bolts off of a Polluted Delta. Very nice. Delver. Delver doesn't flip here. Okay, land drop. Opponent has 3 cards. They can attack with Delver. Might be a reason not to have flipped. Another Karn's not ideal here, and I'm hoping no Remand. I don't need these getting stuck in my hand. We do avoid the Remand. So we down tick here. Now what's interesting here is I have a few options from the sideboard. What I'm thinking here is that my opponent could be also maybe a Phoenix deck, although we haven't seen that. We could see a Treasure, no, not Treasure Cruise, we're not in Pioneer. But we have some maybe interactions here. Although Chalice is here, Snapcaster in the future could be a thing as well. So I imagine I'm going to go get like Tormod's Crypt. It's also a free thing. I can go ahead and just immediately play it. Keep our stuff low. Welding Jar is not a bad idea either. Saving the Chalice, saving the bridge. Forgot that was in the sideboard. So I probably paused there briefly to look at those options. There you go. Easy Welding Jar. Alright, they're floating a lot of mana. This is a little bit concerning here. Not entirely sure what they're going to play. Magnetic Sinkhole. Alright, so they take care of the Karn. Completely fine here. I have another Karn. They're not aware of the second Karn here. Delver stays at 1, so they can go ahead and hit me. We have to be careful. We are looking at a couple lightning bolts that could kill us here. Swings in. We're going to go to 10. Young Pyro into the Chalice. No problems. Draw a land for the turn. We're going to play our Karn. I could imagine just ticking this up and waiting to then get something next turn. Keeps us out of bolt range, although I think every bolt should be going to face at this point. Delver doing Delver things. Doesn't flip. Opt. Ironically, this Blood Moon's probably done a little more than it should, keeping them off of some of their islands. Although they do find one, we could be in for a Cryptic Command here in the future. Land here, go down. I imagine at this point we're trying to win the game. I could see myself going and getting either a second bridge if I'm afraid of them Cryptic Command. I could also see myself getting Walking Ballista. Tormod's Crypt's probably not too bad either. We did see the Magnetic Sinkhole, so maybe they have some other Delve cards that I should be worried about. Let's clear that out. No problems here. A couple options there. Serum Visions. So I imagine my opponent's just trying to find some way to get around the bridge here. We get a Ruins. I go get Walking Ballista as a win condition now. Probably should have done that one turn earlier. But we'll go ahead and play a nice giant Walking Ballista. Now we're not playing around Remand here, which is a little bit worrisome. But I guess, let's see here. Alright, it looks like my opponent actually conceded there. So I probably should be playing around Remand just in case. I should probably just do maybe 4 or yeah, 4, and then maybe could do 2 afterwards. But there you go. Taking down a little bit of the Delvers. Kind of nice to see them. I'm glad to see with the bans that some people are trying some new things. Yeah. Kind of interesting. I'm not really sure what I'm going to sideboard here. I think sideboard-wise, I'm probably going to do some Angers. Eidolon seems a little bit interesting, although the bridge seems to be doing just fine. I could see very much just keeping fairly status quo, maybe one Rabble Master effect out, an Anger or 2 in, since we're seeing X and 3s or less. So with that, let's go to match 2. Alright, match number 2 here. A couple Karns, Eidolon, Rabble Master. We're on the draw. I could see keeping this hand. You can get a quick Rabble Master out. We're probably going to play Eidolon, hopefully draw a card. Rabble Master into Karn. I could see keeping this. I don't see any reason to go ahead and pitch this one back. We do end up keeping it. My opponent fetches, immediately getting an island. We've probably taken all of our Blood Moons out at this point. Our opponent's on this kind of Blue Moon-esque build. So I don't see any reason to have those cards here. Alright, so we get our Eidolon down here. Pretty simple. Expecting, say, a bolt. And we do hit the bolts. They're at 16. Opponent opts as well. Pretty standard here with 2 lands. 1 drops galore here. We didn't hit our Chalice, unfortunately. Speaking of, I can't imagine I don't just attempt to slam this. That would protect Rabble Master in the future. Chalice on 1. Excellent. Opponent's got something. And there's the Petty Theft. Very nice card. I like that card. Alright, so now we're a bit behind. We missed our land drop. Our Chalice just got bounced. Not looking too good for us. Opponent's hitting their land drops. Alright, so we have a couple rituals here. I can't imagine think I play Rabble Master here just to threaten. Get some damage in over the Chalice on 1. We missed our land drop anyway. I can do this next turn. Brazen Borrow has been played. Okay. I think at this point I just want to get damage down. Cracking Fiery Islet was kind of a nice thing until they played the extra mountain. Delver here. Alright, so here we have a few options. I'm kind of hoping maybe I can get them to chump with the Delver. Maybe they have another Petty Theft. If they do that, I can nail one of these with the Abrade. Just seeing where I can potentially get in here, I think. We're not going to ramp out the Desperate Ritual and the Rabble Master, because then they'll just bolt, say, the Rabble Master that's in play. So trying to see if they're going to go ahead and play anything pre-combat. They don't. Go ahead and fire everything in here. I can't believe I would take any actions here. No actions. It takes 6. I think I'm afraid of a remand here, and so I'm not doing anything. We go straight to end step, and they don't do anything. Okay. Delver doesn't flip anything. I'm feeling pretty good. They hit me for 4. That takes me to 13. They're at 9. Plays a land. Okay, they have a stomp here. What's interesting here is I could use the Abrade on my own Goblin Rabble Master, and then that would cause this to go to the graveyard. That's probably not worth it. We're probably just firing an Abrade at something like the Brazen Borrower or the Delver. Either one's probably a fine target here. And we pick the Brazen Borrower. And our opponent does have the Remand. Whether or not they drew that, we don't know. Alright, hit our land drop. They're tapped out of red. Seems like a great time to go ahead and just slam Rabble Master and sort of race here. Hit them for 3. Take them to 6. We have a great clock here. We're at 13. They're at 6. I can't imagine they're going to be able to attack here. We are presenting lethal. They reveal a Lightning Bolt, which is excellent for them. They can go ahead and take care of my Rabble Master. So they go ahead and fire in for 6 here. Puts me to 7. And they play Bone Crusher Giant. And a Delver. Alright. Well, so we have double Abrade here. I can't see any reason not to Ritual and go for it. We could play a Chalice on 0 or 1, but that doesn't do really much here. Ritual out. Go for the double Abrade and win the game. We need both creatures gone to do that, to win. Oh. Well, I guess that's a card. We've only seen Remands. They were pretty tapped out. Seemed like a good play. They're probably doing this in case we have one singleton removal. So Desperate Ritual out. Nail both of these and get in. Seems completely fine here. I believe that Force of Negation kills us because we don't have that extra land. We've been missing lands. We're on turn 7, 3 lands here, unfortunately. And I think we just go ahead and attack here. Maybe my opponent doesn't want to block for some reason. They do, and I think I would imagine I concede here. They have the damage in the air. My goblins were having to be attacking in. There's no way I could have just stopped them. There you go. Game number 2. Let's go to game number 3. See if we can grab the win here. This one seems like if you're on the play and you're just a bit ahead, you have a really good chance here. A few of our removal pieces, just getting the damage. Let's do it. Let's get it. Next match. Or next game. Next game. Alright, game number 3 here against our blue-red tempo deck. Simeon Spirit Guide, 2 Rabble Master effects here, and Anger of the Gods in case things go sideways. Hit that land drop, play that hazard. Seems good to me. I imagine we're just going to power this out. Land draw would be the best here. Looted Delta, my opponent's still fetching like I have Blood Moon. Serum Visions to set things up, seems good. Alright, we miss our land drop, but we're going to go ahead and get in here with probably Rabble Master. If he stays around, he does the most damage. In for 1. Polluted Delta, easy Abrade, or easy Lightning Bolt. Anything can stop Rabble Master here. We top deck an Abrade. Wish it was a land. If we would have had that land, we'd be slamming the next war boss here. Attempt to go to combat. Opponent's like, no, not interested. Fetch shock. Petty theft. Okay, they're just gonna bounce Rabblemaster. Alright. I was expecting a bolt, but hey. Alright. I get to keep Rabblemaster. Swing for 1, pass turn. Missing our land drop. Alright, third land for my opponent. Seems good for them. Young Pyro. Alright, that's a good target for our Braid. Fire that off. And they had no 1-drop, which is kind of nice for us. Oh, we hit our land drop. Excellent. Alright, Rabblemaster or War Boss. Probably Rabblemaster since they know about this. Swing in. Looking good, looking good. Especially since they didn't have Young Pyromancer plus like an opt in response to our Braid. If they were able to do that, they'd have some blockers here. Alright, 3 mana. The Royal Scions. Interesting. So, pretty art too. The extended border ones. So they're going to draw discard here, or they can give creatures some first strike and all that. They ditch a Remand, get a Fiery Islet. Okay. Here, I think it's just a simple slam Legion War Boss. Just get in with tokens. I don't see a reason to care about the Royal Scions, quite honestly. I think we're just going to go all face and be very close to just killing them. Play the Legion War Boss, and our opponent does concede to that. We're going to create 2 tokens here. So that would be 4 damage in Goblins, plus 2 from Rabblemaster, which is 6, plus the extra 4 boost, which is 10. Would put them to 2. We realistically just need 1 more land, and we can attempt a Ruins. I don't see life gain from our opponent. And if all else fails, if we try to Ritual out after we get a land here, and they don't allow the Ritual effect, the following turn we can attempt to hazard. If they're still persistent and not letting us do that, then we're going to probably try to find that extra damage with a couple land drops. Sitting at 20, game locked in, got the W. There you go. Match 3 in the books. Let's go to match 4. It's going well. All right, match number 4 here. We have the play, it looks like, on turn 1. We have a hand that's not very good. We can't actually cast anything. We don't have any mountains, so I presume I mulligan this. I do into a no-lander. That's an easy mulligan. Need your lands. Into multiple lands plus Blood Moon. I probably will go ahead and keep this. We can maybe cheese them a little bit with a turn 2 Blood Moon. And then we have plenty of lands to play anything that we do run into. So we go ahead and keep this hand. Looks like burn. We see an Arid Mesa, hoping it's not. Bridge is fine. Not the greatest, though. Assuming that our opponent's still on a burn type matchup. Pyretic Blood Moon, expecting if they need white and they're not, say, burn, they're going to go get that white, but they don't. Sacred Foundry, so again, indicating more burn? Stomping Ground's been played for our opponents. Maybe it's a Zoo Burn or something like that. Eidolon, so our opponent has creatures. So at this point, I do remember this point, I think I F6 through my turn. And so I actually am going to take a lot more damage than I should. I should have this mountain in play. I should have this bridge in play. We'll just carry on. Punts away. You can punch in the comments below. Opponent skewers us, gets the Eidolon in. Kind of interesting that they decide to pay 3 for their skewer. But I'm seeing Wooded Foothills. I'm seeing Sacred Foundry. Maybe they just don't have anything else going for them. Chandra should be being played this turn because I should have the extra lands. Go ahead and jam a bridge out. I'm taking way too much from this Eidolon to here. They're going to be able to attack again. Lava spikes me. This is disastrous for us. Play through, though. Confidence, confidence. See if we can get more information. It'd be nice to know why they're playing Stomping Ground, although it might be hard to figure that out with Blood Moon. Land here, I think this is an easy Chandra and potentially uptick to keep their Eidolon around, or it might be a down tick killed Eidolon. We don't have to cast anything here, so it's probably just an uptick for damage. Our own Eidolon. Okay. Seems fine. Opponent can attack. We see an Inspiring Vantage. Still thinking burn, zoo. Probably more burn, though. And no actions. That's good for us. All right, so we hit a Blood Moon. We have a bridge. We have to take either 2 to play one of these, or we can remove Eidolon and move on with our lives. I think we're going to just remove Eidolon to keep our life total nice and high. We can get then, say, an extra Blood Moon or a bridge. I imagine it's bridge just because if they have something that removes this and then a hasty creature, I don't want any of that happening to us. Opponent hits another land drop here. We're looking pretty good. Chalice is great to see here. So I've seen kind of burn-like cards. We're not in game number 2 here. They don't have Smash, or I would presume they don't. Maybe they have a Braid main. So Chalice on 1 feels like the right play. I'm seeing a Lava Spike. I'm pretty sure they're playing Bolt, so I don't see any reason not to. We go up for damage here. Maybe hit something interesting that I want to cast, but it's going to be Chalice on 1. Seems like the safest play. And actually, at this point, my opponent's conceded, which is, to me, a little bit surprising. My opponent has plenty of mana. They just need to hit, say, like a Rift Bolt or another couple Skewers, and they're excellent. But my opponent's not too thrilled with our Chalice. Sideboard-wise, Bridges are going to come out, Angers are going to come in, Eidolon's going to probably come in here, maybe a Walking Ballista. We're going to treat this like burn. I probably keep 1 extra bridge in and 1 less Anger, only because I'm seeing the green and I'm thinking they're either doing this for sideboard or they have things like maybe Tarmogoyf or Tarka's Command or something like that. With that, let's go to game 2. All right, game 2, we have a Chalice on 1 very quickly through the Simian Spirit Guide. We do have a removal. I'm on the draw, so I have the option to draw. This one's a little bit iffy. I could see myself mulliganing this only because I don't have that second land, but I could also be very passive with my Simian Spirit Guide and the Chalice plus the land. Don't need to do it immediately. Maybe my opponent plays Goblin Guide, Swift Spear, Eidolon pretty quick, and then I get to anger the board. I have a feeling I probably keep this because I've been on a decent streak thus far. I'm not sure I would recommend it, but if you're feeling lucky and 2 draws to hit your land, the hand looks just fine. What have Foothills for our opponent? We had a Desperate Ritual, so this has completely changed our options here, and we have one of the most nutty starting hands possible. Simian Spirit Guide, Ritual, Chandra. Chalice on 1. Probably one of the best things. Plus we have then an Anger and we have a Braid. We're expecting maybe an Eidolon or something like that from our opponent at this point. Maybe a Bolt right here to Chandra, but it appears my opponent's just not playing 1-drops very often, so there you go. Bloodstained Mire's a little interesting. My opponent's got a bajillion fetches, but doesn't seem to be fetching outside of the typical burn colors. An Eidolon of the Great Revel here. Plenty of options to remove this. Okay, we hit a Desperate Ritual. That allows us to play anything in the deck because we can Ritual with Chandra and then play this. I have a feeling I'm going to look at probably, I want to say Anger here. The Anger is more mana efficient with Chandra's Uptick, but I could be using it in a Braid and saying, hey, if they get 2 things out, the Anger is nice in the future. The other thing that's interesting here is that I can use the Abrade at instant speed if I hit, say, a land drop next turn. Our Chandra's almost there anyway at emblem status. Stomping Ground tapped. Second Eidolon here. Come on, land. Hits the land drop. Noting we're on turn 3 and finally hit our land drop. We're on the draw, so this is actually, what? Turn 1, turn 2. This is our 3rd draw, right? So keep that in mind. It was a risky keep at the beginning. Land drop, pretty simple here. Uptick. Blood Moon would have been nice. And go ahead and hold this Abrade. Now, there is an argument to have fired off the Abrade there in case of Boros Charm. You could make an argument that I'm playing with fire here, which I like. Opponent attacks. They're attacking Chandra. Pretty simple. We'll go ahead and Abrade. We Abrade this. My opponent's in response floating this Boros Charm. Helix. So they target the Helix at Chandra. If this was a Boros Charm, I understand saving the Eidolon. They've taken 2 extra damage that they didn't need to. So this Helix isn't as good. Let the Eidolon die, then fire off your Helix. Opponent's plays a little loose there. Get the turn back. Get a mountain. We'll go ahead and uptick, I'd imagine. Get an Abrade. We'll skip that. We'll just pass turn. Alright, my opponent gets a land drop. It looks like they're flooding out. Blood Moon's nice here. I think I'll just probably uptick and then Blood Moon. I can't see any other actions here. If I find maybe another Blood Moon, it would be nice to just do this off Chandra. Rabble Master's alright, but we'll skip that. They've probably brought in the Searing Blazes and Searing Bloods. We don't want to give them anything that targets my creatures. Blood Moon, and they have a Helix. So they Helix my Chandra again. This Chandra's taking tons and tons of damage. Opponent's really just not doing a whole lot against us. Another land drop for our opponent. Take the turn back. I'll take the Chalice. So it's pretty easy. Desperate Ritual into this Chalice, or we can use Chandra's mana. Either's fine. By doing it this way, I have an extra spell for Chandra in the future, which is kind of nice. So reason to go ahead and just use the uptick there. We're going to be upticking Chandra a lot here anyway. Chalice on 2 sticks. Opponent concedes. Taking down what I... Burn... Not burn. Burn with Cyborg green cards. Maybe Cyborg green cards like Veil. Can't do Oko anymore. We haven't really figured out what our opponent was doing here. I will just label them as burn though. So taking down burn feels pretty good. Chalice is obviously doing a lot of work here. Looks pretty decent. Yeah. So there you go. Doing well, doing well. We'll see you in the next match. We got 1 more to go. Maybe a 5-0. Maybe not. We'll see who our opponent is. See you there. Match 5. Here we go. None other than Stickball Russ as our opponent. At this point, I'm worried. Mirror match? 2 4-0s going at it? We'll see. Russ is known for a couple decks, though. So, immediate Dark Slick Shores here from our opponent. Easily, I will put him on mill before he plays even his first card. Yep, mill. Alright, well we have the Blood Moon. We're looking pretty okay, and I have the Abrade. I can go ahead and take care of Jace's Phantasm. Feeling pretty good here in game number 1. Shouldn't be too bad. I don't have to worry about Archive Trap here, or things like that. So, Jace into a Glimpse. Pretty good. My Abrade is now useless because Jace's Phantasm becomes a 5/5. So we're looking for probably a Ritual or just hitting our land drops here. We're going to go to 15 immediately. Top deck a Chalice. So I guess I can go ahead and play that Chalice on 1. That'll stop, say, a Thoughtseize or something from taking my Blood Moon or my Bridges. Looking okay. We're going to be going to 10, though. I definitely need to hit a land drop. Russ comes straight in for another 5 damage here. And plays a Mesmeric Orb. Definitely all the mill cards for sure. Alright, we're going to untap here a couple triggers. We're definitely needing our land drop here, though. Top deck a Chandra. I could have Braid the Mesmeric Orb. I think I go ahead and do that, but at this point, my opponent's just going to hit me for another 5. I'm going to go to 5, and then if I even top deck a land, say land here and bridge, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards in hand. I believe I concede to them at this point. We'll go to game number 2. Sideboard wise for this one, it's Eidolon in. It's going to be a Hazard in easily. Might even bring the Walking Ballista in. I could see that. And just leave the rest out. We're going to be basically taking all the bridges out. Even though Jace's is here, I can go get the bridges through Karn. We might drop a Karn in 1 bridge, but basically full throttle. Let's bleep mill. Put on the gas. All right, game 2. Let's go to game 2. All right, game 2, I'm on the play. Obviously, I'm going to take the play here. Hand looks fantastic. We have a quick Chandra. We have Rabblemaster, Rabblemaster. We want to be doing damage to our opponent. Not a problem. We'll keep this. We'll get things rolling. Watery Grave, I'm expecting a Thoughtseize, but they're leading with Hedron Crab, so obviously straight mill. Here we go. Land here. Pretty simple Rabblemaster. Let's get some damage going here. If I was not as much on the Rabble-masters here, it would be an easy Chandra. Obviously, your Ritual turn 2. You might even just pick off the crab so you don't get milled out. Rabble-master swings in token. I'm expecting a block here. Pretty simple. No problems here. Hedron Crab targets us. Mill over a land, Chalice, and a Ruins, and a Drown in the lock. So that's pretty interesting to see. I know Russ has been a little bit keen on this card from time to time. Top deck of Simeon's Spirit Guide. This is a pretty easy. Get the Chandra on board. Get the Rabblemaster into play. Their opponent is completely tapped out. This is a perfect time to do this. Plays our Ritual, Simeon's Spirit Guide, Chandra, mana, swing goblins. Damage, damage, damage. We're empty-handed. Even if they have an extra Drown in the lock, at least I have an active Chandra here. Looking like we can close the door here pretty fast. Marsh Flats is a little bit worrisome. They milled us for a few more. We can bring our side, or not our sideboard, our graveyard over here. The other thing is the Marsh Flats indicates maybe a Fatal Push is in our future. Mesmeric Orb, completely fine there. Gonna untap quite a bit here and mill a lot. So we end up milling 2 Chandras, Eidolon, and then a Desperate Ritual. We're going to go ahead and make mana here and get this Hazard that we've top decked into play, which is pretty nice. This way, if they do have that Fatal Push, we at least have a Hazard just slamming in for damage. I imagine I attack with everything here. Some triggers. We have to do this because they are milling us fairly quickly here. We have the Mesmeric Orb that's going to do a lot as well. Watery Grave mills us for a bit more. Getting that information. A few untaps. Plague Engineer is kind of an interesting one to see here. And then an Archive Trap. Russ is probably misboarded. Archive Trap shouldn't be here. The only way that we search is if they feel to ruin us on our Ruins or our Gemstone. There's not a lot of cards for that target. Drown the Lock, though, pretty good. I'm expecting Fatal Push. I'm expecting maybe even a Damnation. Or maybe a Crypt Incursion, things like that from our opponent. But we do enough damage, fast enough, enough things on the battlefield, enough threats. Got in, got there. Match 3. Sorry, game 3. Game 3, here we go. Let's do it. All right, game number 3 here. I like what we have in this hand. We have an Abrade for the early Crab or Mesmeric Orb. We have a Chalice we can put on 1 to avoid Thoughtseize and Fatal Pushes and more Crabs. The Visions cards, things like that. We have a Karn. Karn's kind of the hit or miss here. There was probably not too much in our sideboard that we want, but Eidolon's a really good pressure, and when our opponent's trying to do things like just simply mill us, and if they don't have, say, Crab, well, even Crab doesn't block well. If they don't have a good blocker here, then the Eidolon should do enough. I like the hand. We'll probably keep this. Darkslick Shores, Crab, basic start every time for mill. We hit our land drop. This is excellent. We'll go ahead and play our mountain. So it gives us the option of Chalice or Eidolon. Land here, obviously going to mill us. There's an Ensnaring Bridge. We did keep a couple of these in there just in case that Jace kind of wicked hand came up at the very beginning. Black and blue, Glimpse. So we're already at 39 cards, looking pretty rough here, but we're going to get some damage going here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and play that Chalice. That way we protect the Eidolons from Fatal Pushes. I'm really worried about that. I don't want anything in my hand getting Thoughtseize right now. Let's see what we can do. There's the Field of Ruin. We did see the Archive Trap, so got to be mindful of that. Don't want to really play the Gemstone Caverns into this. Not ideal. Another Glimpse. So we've got the double Glimpse and double land from Hedron Crab here. We've milled quite a bit here, sitting at 25 cards. Hopefully, I don't know. We got to do a lot of damage still. They're still sitting at 20. Extra Eidolon's an interesting one, considering that we've actually been milling Rabble Masters and the things of that like. I'm pretty cool with some extra Eidolons here. Let's just jam an Eidolon. Maybe I can get lucky and top deck a Mountain and get double Eidolon next turn as well. We're avoiding this Gemstone Caverns again, just for the Archive Trap that we did see. Although I expect that to be out by now, but maybe Russ doesn't have anything else to bring in. Triple Glimpse. All right, trigger from the Eidolon. They take 2, but we're going to be going from 18 down a little further to 8. So we have 8 cards left, 17 damage to apply to our opponent. 2 cards in hand, though. You have a shot. It's small. All right, we missed on our land drop here. I think it could easily be just like Eidolon here and a Braid the Hedron Crab out of the way, swing with Eidolon, get 2 damage in here, and then every spell they play is 4 damage. That seems fine here. I don't like exposing the Gemstone Caverns to the Field of Ruin in case they're playing that Archive Trap, but I think we have no other options. Karn's not doing enough here, and the Hazard can't attack, so it's pretty obvious it's got to be a Braid plus an Eidolon. Alright, so a Braid before. Damage probably shouldn't matter here, but let's get rid of the Crab. And play our second Eidolon here and swing for 2. So that'll put them into 15, and if they cast anything, they'll take 4. Looks good. Looks good. Wouldn't mind a land drop here for us, just to get the Hazoret down with less cards in hand. 3 mana. Plague Engineer. Alright, so they're going to name Spirit here to make these smaller so I don't trade when I attack in. They did take 4, and so they're at 11. We have a bunch of 1/1s. Alright, land drop's good. We talked about having the land drop for Hazarets. We'll go ahead and jam another Eidolon here. We're doing the Eidolon because then they only can cast 2 spells here, and really the second spell would kill them. So at this point, I think I've got them locked out of the game. Looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with our position. If they attack me, I can attack them back for 3. They're not really racing us anyway. We have big mom dog coming up, so looking good. I'm feeling pretty confident here. No attacks. Probably no casted spells. Looking fine here. Gemstone Caverns completely fine here. I think here we just slam Hazoret and just go to town. I don't see any reason not to. Let's get that damage in. Get past the Plague Engineer. Okay, so I've opted for a Karn the Great Creator. I think my intention here is probably to go get, for example, a Walking Ballista, but I've forgotten that I've probably brought it in. There's a Walking Ballista right there. The alternate option here to go is they're probably out is Crypt Incursion, and so we can probably Tormod's Crypt and just get rid of our yard here. While they're only on their last 3 cards. They haven't been casting anything, so they don't have anything in hand, more than likely. So Karn, go get something. I don't see anything else that I really want, unless I wanted a Liquid Metal Coating and just start shooting their lands, but that's not getting me far. Welding Jar, maybe protect the Chalice, but it's probably Tormod's Crypt here. Play that to get rid of my graveyard. That way the Crypt Incursion's not an out for them anymore. It does put us to 6 here, but I feel pretty good with this Hazoret line. Alright, so Crypt Incursion. I'll just pop this out real briefly. There's a lot in here. I see some Rabbles, Simian Spirit Guides, Legion War Bosses, 1 Hazoret, all that good stuff. Yeah, this is going to gain them a lot, and we're sitting at 5 cards remaining in our library. Yeah, it's not very good. 35 up to 38. Okay. Well, Tormod's Crypt played. They happen to have the 1 out that we just talked about. We'll go ahead and Tormod's Crypt ourselves just in case they need our graveyard to have something in it. Drown the Lock is no longer an out, but I'm not sure they'd be wanting to cast that necessarily. But that could counter, for example, Hazoret. So clear that out as well. No attacks here. Let's pass the turn back. Not looking ideal for us. Field of Ruins us. At this point, we get a check in our cards that we have remaining. And so we have Blood Moon, Chandra, Desperate Ritual, and Eidolon. So we can't actually cast Eidolon, Desperate Ritual, Blood Moon, or Blood Moon. So we can't cast 4 cards. We have a Chandra, so we can cast Chandra, and I can play Hazoret. So it doesn't matter what our next draw is. I'm probably playing Hazoret and just hoping that I eventually get that Chandra fast enough where I can then down tick and remove the Plague Engineer so that these Eidolons can attack in as well. That is our out. So we got to play to our out. Land drop, 2 cards in hand still. These are probably 2 cards that they can't cast. They just need 1 mill spell. That's all they need. All right, so of our 5 cards, we actually top deck the Chandra. So I like this, and since our Eidolons are going to become 2/2s, let's slam a Chandra here and get in for that. If we top deck, let's see here, no lands to get. Realistically, we're just going to be playing Hazoret after this, and we get in for 6 damage instead of just 5. So kill here. Kills Engineer. Gets in for 6. Puts them to 32. At this point, I've kind of done a little bit of the math that I can potentially do 11 each turn. I'm sitting at 4 cards. It's doable. I just need my opponent to not hit anything. Go up with Karn here. I can use Karn's down tick to go get Walking Ballista. I can use Chandra's uptick of mana just to do, use that plus the 4 lands in play to get rid of 2 cards this following turn. I get to play Hazoret because I can't actually cast Eidolon. No reason to hold back. Let's go ahead and slam in here for damage. 11 damage. We're going to take them down to 21. Again, this Karn could go get Walking Ballista or another card that can be used to pitch to Hazoret if we need that extra damage. No spells from our opponent. We're going to go ahead and pitch something here. We'll use some of Chandra's mana here so I can actually get both of these out. Pitch the Eidolon. Can't cast it because I'll die. We'll go ahead and pitch the Blood Moon as well. Again, can't cast because I'll die, and we'll go ahead and hit them for 6. Plus 5, that's 11. What's nice about that is that actually puts them at exactly 6, meaning that they would need exactly Archive Trap, I think, because anything they cast here loses it for them. Polluted Delta here, fetching, and Fatal Push. Our Chalice on 1 was holding back a Fatal Push. Probably a couple unknown cards here that just weren't there, and we get it with 2 cards left in the library against Mill. This one's an excellent one to watch. I would encourage people to go check out Stickball Russ's Twitch to see some of it from his side. I believe he was streaming. That won't be up too long though, but maybe I can get him to download that. But we go ahead and take it away from him. Very close match. I think if I didn't top deck the Chandra, I'm not sure I would have gotten there. Although I could use the Karn to go get the Walking Ballistas. There was probably still a line there. The Chandra just made it a little bit easier for Hazoret to be used. But yeah, it came down to 2 cards left and killing them through a Crypt Incursion. And that's going to do it. We'll have a little conclusion here as well. Thank you for watching. We'll see you there. Red Prison in Modern. We may be back. We might be back. Oh yes, we are back. We are back because of the bans, the most recent bans of Mycosynth Lattice, but notably Oko, Thief of Crowns, and then a little bit of Mox Opal. Probably will help us a little bit for some of those very combo heavy decks. But hey, Red Prison is back because Oko's not going to elk our bridges and chalices. The deck is in front of you. The deck is also in the description below. It does great things. It's just as powerful as it was before. Bridge is a little more powerful. You have the Eidolons, Rabble Masters, and Legion War Bosses to do damage. I like Hazoret in a Jund-like meta. People are going to be playing humans. People are going to play Death Shadow. Yawgmoth shouldn't be a problem because you have the Blood Moons. You have a Torp Orb in the sideboard, which I think is still one of the best cards. You have Tormod's Crypt, and you have the Grafdigger's Cage for those graveyards decks, as we saw. It's back, guys. Red Prison 2020. Yeah. You can play the Punisher Prison, you can play a Karn version, or you can play a traditional classic version. I'd encourage to try all of them. I think they will all be fine in their respective metas where they're a little more powerful. You might see Koth coming back. You might see Pia and Kieran Nalar. Who knows what you'll see. Red Prison, though, taking it down 5-0. 5-0, guys. Feels good. Feels good. I believe I have on the desktop somewhere. I do grab this and pull this in just real briefly. This was the 5-0. We've called it Sideboard Prison 20 Oko 20, right after the bans. And these are our matchups. We had Dredge, Burn, Blue-Red Tempo, and that Zoo-ish Burn, and then a Mill, very close matchup as well. We didn't run into Amulet Titan. We didn't run into a couple more control matchups. I'm not too worried about those. Blood Moon's fantastic. If we start to see those uptick a little bit more, you're going to see an extra Magus in the sideboard, and the Eidolon's going to be there as well. You know, that's for Storm. That's for those multi-spell decks. Damping Matrix is here just because of creature type of decks that are trying to activate and go through what they are trying to maybe combo out. Deck is sweet. You guys know it. You're familiar with it. If you've enjoyed, don't forget the like and the subscribes as well. It helps boost the channel, and it will, well, just let me know you want more of this content. Till next time, guys, thank you so much. This is a YouTube exclusive here on the channel, and we'll see you on the stream or in a future video. Take care.